Some days may be sour, but add a little sugar and the journey is always sweet. Welcome to It's the Lemonade Life. I'm Patty Lovelace. Thanks for watching. Hi, today we are going to make some guacamole, is how I say it. Some other people say guacamole, but I have volunteered to take guacamole to our Taco Tuesday at Discipleship tonight. And so I'm going to show you my recipe for guacamole. Today we're going to be using avocados, salt and pepper, jalapenos, tomatoes, red onion, lime, and if you want it, you can use cilantro. I'm going to blanch the tomatoes so the skins come off easy, just like we used to do when we would can tomatoes with my mom. So I've brought the water to a boil. I pour it in the bowl over the tomatoes. I didn't put enough, so I'm going to roll them around. But then after just a couple of minutes, I'll drain that water off, and it's going to make those skins turn loose very easily. And it makes them so much easier to peel. And if you don't leave the water on too long, it doesn't even make the tomatoes mushy, which I really love. Boy, this brings back memories from when I was a little girl and we had a huge garden and we would peel tomatoes all afternoon to can them with my mom. Now we're going to remove the core from the tomatoes with a paring knife. Just be careful not to cut your hand that you're holding the tomato with. These are hothouse tomatoes, so they're a little more tough. So it took me just a minute to get this core out. But then make sure that if you're using hothouse tomatoes that you get the hard part in the center out. So I had to cut it again to remove that hard part. Tomatoes will roll around on you, so I cut the end off of one of them before I try to slice it. That way I have a flat surface to lay it on, and then it makes it much easier to slice without it moving around on me. Now that I've got them in nice slices, I'm going to chop them up one piece at a time. So just make a few cuts and then turn it sideways. Chop, 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 until you get it to the size that you like, and move it out of the way and do the next piece. Now that I've got the tomatoes peeled and chopped up, I am going to chop the jalapenos. Let me show you how I do it. Okay, let's remove the seeds and what I call the veins from the peppers so that they're not going to be so hot we won't be able to eat them. So I cut the end of them off and then slice them in half. I take a little spoon, this is a teaspoon, and just scrape the seeds and those veins out of there to try and take some of the heat out so that people can actually enjoy eating it. That right there is what I'm talking about. Some people call them the spine, some people call them the vein. I don't know what you call them. I say vein, but when you're doing this, be careful not to let it squirt in your eye, because I did get it in my eye while I was chopping these. Another little tip is to lay the pepper on its back instead of trying to lay the flat side onto the cutting board like that, because it is much harder to cut through the skin than it is through the meat. So if you lay it meat side up, then you can chop more easily and your knife doesn't try to move around and you don't end up cutting yourself. And then I cut these up, chop them up in a nice little small piece so that you're not getting a whole lot of heat in one single bite. I love to use a red onion in my guacamole, so I've picked out a really nice one here. I slice it from the root to the stem so that I can remove the hot part of it. That way it's not going to make me cry while I'm trying to chop it all up. I cut the ends off of each one, and then I peel the, I don't know what you call that, skin off of the outside. And I usually will take that very first layer of onion, because most of the time it's going to be pretty tough. And if you try to chop that up into your onions, everybody's going to get a little bit of a tough bite. So I want to remove that and then remove the root part from the inside. That's where the tears come from. So take that right out of there and just discard it so that it's not where you're working. That way it won't be burning your eyes while you're trying to chop everything up. Have you ever tried to chop an onion while you're crying? It's really, really hard to see what you're doing with the knife. So I do that to both sides of it. And then I put them face down and make very thin slices. And then once we get our thin slices, we're going to chop, 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 until we get the onions in a small enough piece that you're not getting just a mouthful of onions in the guacamole. Again, I'm cutting this on a flat surface. When I get about to the middle of the onion, I turn it around. That way it's not trying to push my knife off onto my fingers and cut me. If you've ever tried to cut a rounded surface, you know if it's a hard surface like an onion, it tries to make your knife slide off. The tomatoes not so much, so I didn't have to turn those around, but I make sure I do that on anything that's hard like these onions so that I don't chop my fingers off. Okay, so I'm going to take a quick break from chopping, and I am going to taste test some watermelon. So on my page yesterday, I posted a meme from another page that said yay or nay on having salt on your watermelon, which I love, by the way. Now, I can eat the watermelon just plain like it is, and I can eat it with salt for sure. And then my very good friend Tracy over at Tracy Tries, if you haven't followed her page, you need to go do that. She said that she likes tahine, I think is how you say it, T-A-J-I-N, tahine, on hers. And I said, oh, I have some, I'm gonna try it. Well, I don't have any tahine, I have some Valentina's, which I also heard was excellent on it. And it's really good on things like buttered popcorn. Try it, it's so good. So I'm gonna try these. It looks nice and red. There was a seed in my seedless watermelon. There are a few. If there weren't any seeds in them, how would we reproduce them? Think about that. So I'm gonna try this. It's a sweet watermelon. Y'all. Oh, I cannot stand cilantro. And it smells like a boy's locker room to me. It's just gross. And I chopped some for the guacamole, and now it's on my hands. Let me wash my hands real quick. Okay, so now I'm gonna do the salt. This is pink Himalayan salt. The sweet and the salty, that's my favorite. For now, let's see what this tastes like. This thing has big holes in it. I'm gonna put it in my hand. Ooh, see how much came out? It's a good thing I put it in my hand first. I'm recording a video, babe. All right, so here's this piece. I'm just gonna smash it on there. Hold on just a minute, sweetheart. All right, here we go. There you go. What do you say?
Thank you.
You're welcome. We're gonna do that again, because I'm not sure about that. I think I taste a little bit of lemon or lime. Definitely. It's really good. I'm just not getting a little of the flavor. So guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do this. A little bit of that. A little bit of that. A little bit of that. Oh yeah. That's the way to go. The salt really brought the Valentina out. I think there's probably not very much salt in this seasoning. That is excellent. Definitely try again. Another piece? Okay, back to chopping. I use two methods to chop my avocados up. First, I cut the avocado in half, and then I twist them apart so that I can reveal the seed. And then I very gently tap my knife down into the seed and then turn it around to pull that seed out. That way it doesn't tear the avocado up and I don't cut myself. Now you can remove the avocado with a spoon. This is a soup spoon that I use. And then chop the avocado up like this. Look how nice that looks. That's going to make some really good guacamole. The other method I use is to chop it up while it's inside the skin and then spoon it out. I don't recommend it when your avocados are not ripe, and these are not very ripe, so I'm being very careful with my hand so that I don't slice it open. But if they're pretty ripe and you can be very gentle with your knife, you can get a really nice chop inside the shell, and it'll save you some time, make it a little bit easier on you, and then you just spoon all of that out, and look, it's already chopped up for you, and it's perfect. The avocados are all chopped up and they're ready to pour into the mixture. I'm using a big stainless steel bowl, and I've already put all the other ingredients in there, so I'm going to add the rest of the avocado to it, and then we're going to get the mixture going. Look how pretty everything looks. I just love all of those colors in the bowl. Now we're going to add our salt and pepper to it. Mix that around. Now I have cut in half 2 limes. I'm going to squeeze the juice from both of them, and I'm holding them upside down to squeeze the juice because I'm trying to keep the seeds from going in there. I said I chopped 2 limes. I did not have 2 chopped, so I'm going to take the second lime and I'm going to roll it on the counter a little bit to get the juices going, and then cut it in half. That way it makes the juices easier to squeeze out. Now for the fun part, we're going to mix it all together. Look at that, it's coming together beautifully. Okay, we're going to do a taste test now and see where we are. There's lots of good crunch. The jalapenos are a little hotter than I expected them to be. I think it needs a little more salt. Add about a teaspoon more salt, and we'll stir it around. Now I'm going to take half of this out and put it in a storage bowl and let it marinate until it's time to go to discipleship. And then the other half I'm going to ruin by putting some cilantro in it. I'm not eating it. I'm having me some without cilantro. All right. Doesn't that look delicious? Got a little bit of everything. I taste the avocado. I taste the onion. I taste that lime. I taste the tomato. Definitely taste the pepper. Magnifique. Delicioso. I'm removing some and putting it in a storage pan so I can carry it with me to discipleship, and I'm gonna put cilantro in the rest of it. I'm allergic to cilantro and I do not want it in mine. This ended up being some very strong cilantro. I may have put a little bit too much. I don't use it a lot. It's stinky, stinky, stinky. But the people that ate the guacamole said that it was really good, so maybe I didn't put too much. Any of it is too much for me. Are you a cilantro fan, or are you like me and think it's just gross and shouldn't go in anything? So I've got the cilantro nicely chopped up. I'm gonna add it to the guacamole, stir that around, and I've got another one of those pans to put that in. And there's gonna be a little bit left at the end that I'm gonna put in a Ziploc bag and save for Leah because she loves cilantro and she's had a hard day at work. So I'm gonna have a little snack for her before she goes to discipleship with me tonight. Wasn't that just sweet? We won't be sour if you like, follow, comment, and share with others. Everybody likes a little lemonade in their life. I'm Patty Loveless. Stay tuned for our next fresh squeezed video. This turned out great. It's possibly the best I've ever made.